Well, we have just got some massive news on the upcoming Dragontopia DLC, which is coming to ARK Survival Ascended December 2026. Now, this is probably one of the biggest changes we're going to have in ARK for a very, very long time, because as you guys know, when Wildcard release new creatures, new DLCs, there's always new ways to tame creatures, and that's what I always love, you know, especially running the LoadedCrysis cluster, seeing you guys get a new creature and all working out together. How do you tame this thing? You know, some people look for YouTube videos, some people want to work it out for themselves. That is one of the most exciting things about ARK. A new creature drops and we work out how we can actually tame that creature. Now, that's always been kind of similar, right? There's been some different ways, but this is more about bonding with the creature. This sounds absolutely crazy. We're going to go through the information in today's video, and of course, if you haven't seen the logo key art for ARK Dragontopia, this is it on the screen that we got in the product roadmap. We don't really know much else about this DLC, but we know that it's going to be fantasy in dragon, like a fantasy dragon land inspired by things like Avatar. There's going to be floating islands, different worlds to explore within one map, which is really, really exciting. So if you enjoyed today's video, drop a like, subscribe, and let's get into how dragons are going to work in the future of ARK. So I also saw a comment from someone saying to me, Dom, I just really want to see like the artwork of some of these dragons, and I'm the same. Like, I'm really interested what designs they're going for. Like, obviously we saw some of the new stuff with Lost Colony, with the new Auroralax dragon, which I really like the theme of that. So what else is on the horizon? So Jeremy says, looking ahead, we have a dragon-themed expansion planned for the end of 2026. Dragons will behave differently from traditional ARK creatures. Instead of simple tame mechanics, they'll have a bonding system. The bond increases or decreases depending on how the player treats the dragon. Each species have different preferences, so players have to learn how to care for them properly. We're also giving dragons more independent AI behaviours. The map itself will feature floating sky islands inspired a bit by Skies of Arcadia. So Skies of Arcadia is a game I have definitely not played, and I know that Studio Wildcard are really into their old school gaming, and I know they take a lot of inspiration from that side of things. Skies of Arcadia looks like, I really like the vibe. This was some concept art that someone made of the actual Skies of Arcadia, but this is the game that you can see here, which this won't represent exactly what ARK will look like with Dragontopia, but this is the kind of inspiration they take. You have to think, every gamer looks back to some of the games that they played when they were younger. And if you're a developer, you probably take a lot of inspiration from that, because your childhood games takes you back to a place. For me, that's like Halo and that kind of stuff. But like, you know, you take that kind of a world inspiration because that's what put you in such a magical place when you were younger. And I think that's obviously what Studio Wildcard have the vision for here with Skies of Arcadia. But also they've mentioned Pandora in Avatar, you know, that kind of beautiful world. I mean, if you guys have played the Avatar game, I think it's crazily underrated. I just completed it not long ago. I bought the game when it launched, never completed it, and came back to it recently, and the beauty of the game is actually amazing. And I know Ubisoft get a lot of hate these days, but I actually had a lot of fun. It was like, it felt so, I played it with a friend, and we could just go anywhere we wanted in the world. And if you guys are an OG ARK player, you remember the days where if you played with your friend on a dedicated server, there was the barrier that you would literally drag you to follow you. So the freedom on the way gaming has moved is just absolutely amazing. And I can't wait for ARK to have this kind of inspiration with this, because it's also going to be inspired by the How to Train Your Dragon DLC. Well, film, not DLC. So let's throw it back actually to when I made my last Dragontopia video, and I made an entire presentation because we first found out that Dragontopia could potentially be linked to How to Train Your Dragon, because, by the way, Studio Wildcard had told us that in 2026, they said April-May time, I don't know if that's happening now, but they said another massive collaboration is coming for ARK Survival Ascended, and they said it's really going to fit in well with the game ARK. That's what made me think it might have been Jurassic World. I've been asking for ages, and then we saw Dragontopia, we saw the logo, and we realized to ourselves that it really was inspired. If you see the R in the How to Train Your Dragon, and then you compare it to Dragontopia, whether that's just something that, you know, Jeremy mentioned that it is only inspired, but when you look at it, it's very similar. And something I mentioned in this video too is that I know this probably has absolutely no relation whatsoever, but you know how David Tennant is Rockwell in Ark Survival Ascended. Obviously, one of the How to Train Your Dragons books stories was read by David Tennant, and I'm sure it has absolutely no links to it whatsoever, but I thought it was so interesting. And like, I personally think, guys, I know Studio Wildcard said that they don't think that well, no, they mentioned that it's going to be inspired, but something is telling me that they've got this massive deal locked in. We know one is coming. We've been told a major collab is happening. So when you know, everything is just linking to How to Train Your Dragon, and I just don't think Jeremy would officially announce it if it, you know, like, if they're probably still going through talks with them and how they're going to do the DLC. I just think it's going to happen. So yes, in December, we are going to be completely changing the way we tame our creatures in Ark Survival Ascended, and it is going to be a bonding system. Now, it says it can increase or decrease depending on how the player treats the dragon. So I'm wondering, if you don't treat your dragon well, will it get to a point where it doesn't want, it's not kind of tamed by you anymore, and it might actually attack you? So I'm wondering if it's gonna add that kind of threat into the game. But how is it gonna work it's such an interesting, I wish I could ask all of these questions to Studio Wildcard. I know in December I'll finally have those answers, and I'm sure they're going to do some promo for this DLC on the build up to it. But it just asks, you know, it just makes me think of just so many questions about, you know, what if you're not on a server for very long? Will the dragon get unhappy? Like, you know, what works in that sense of things? Like, how often are you going to have to keep it happy, and what can you use to help it keep it happy? Like, we just added the cyber structures mod onto our servers. We've moved from AA, automated ARK, over to cyber structures, and you guys are having a great time. But could you use like the nanny to keep the bonding system strong for your dragons, or will that not work? So that is really interesting. And when it comes to the taming system, how do you initially first bond with it? If we go back to Avatar, is it going to work on a similar situation to that? I'm sure you're not going to have to pull your thing from your hair and try and connect it in with the dragon, because that's kind of a weird concept as it is anyway. But is it, you know, I reckon it could work in a similar way. It's going to take time to actually get the trust with your dragon. And then we go all in with the massive points of, what in the world are these going to look like? What dragon types are they? Because they said each species have different preferences. So you have to please a certain species. They prefer something else, which just is like, what is this going to be? But I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And I can't wait to find out how we're going to have to care for them properly. And you know, ultimately, what are they, how overpowered are these things going to be? And is there going to be a giant dragon boss again? We've already had a dragon boss in Ark, but is this going to be the king of all dragons? And this isn't going to be canon, by the way. They've already confirmed that. It is just a, it's a non-canon DLC. It's only Genesis Part 1 this year that's going to be canon. So, anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy today's video, drop a like, subscribe. Really looking forward to seeing what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. And I'll see you in the next one.